Can the amount of training you receive regarding your concealed carry permit affect the outcome if you're ever involved in a situation requiring you to use your gun for self-defense? In other words, can the prosecution use how many training classes or courses you've received against you in court if they decide to charge you? In addition, can gun choice for your everyday carry also affect the outcome if you're ever involved in a situation where you have to use your gun for self-defense? That's what we're going to talk about today, folks. Let's get into it. If you watch some of my other videos, you know that I promote training. I think you should get as much training as you can and as often as you can. I think it'll make you more confident and more skillful if you ever have to use your gun for self-defense. So I'm a strong advocate for training. That being said, people have asked me, can that hurt you? In other words, if you're ever involved in a situation and you have to use your gun and they look at your background and say you've never been a police officer, you've never been in the military, yet you've had 5, 6, 7, 8 classes in tactics, in firearm safety, in tactical use of your gun for self-defense inside your home, outside your home, can they use that against you and say taking all these courses means that you're gung-ho or you're just obsessed with getting into a situation involving your gun? And my answer to that is yes, they can always do that. They can always use whatever they can to try to bolster their case. Remember, prosecutors see cases as debates, and if they think they can win the debate, they'll take the case, and they will use whatever they can. I spoke about a case in Texas recently involving an Army sergeant who was driving for a second job. He got involved in a situation. He had a concealed carry permit. He got involved in an altercation with a protester who also had a gun. He had a rifle. The reports were the protester pointed the rifle at him. He shot the protester in self-defense. That's what he claims killed him. Initially, it was looked at as a self-defense situation. He was not charged by the police. However, the prosecutor got involved and decided to check out his background. They found social media posts about him posting about shooting protesters and shooting looters 2-3 years in the past. They decided to pursue charges. It went to court. He was found guilty. My whole point with that video was to tell you that the prosecution, if they want to charge you, they're going to try to paint a picture for the jury. And they did for that Army sergeant. Even though that might have been a self-defense situation that particular day, they painted a different picture for the jury about someone who, whether it was true or not, about someone who was looking to hurt someone, a protester or a looter. And the jury bought it. If they decide to charge you, if you use your gun in a self-defense situation, we all hope that we never have to. But if you do and they decide to charge you, they will use whatever they can against you. So here's my suggestion. Get as much training as you can. It can only be helpful. Don't advertise it. You don't need to post on social media when you've taken another class. You don't need to tell people. You don't need to post it. You don't need to advertise it. Unless you're a firearms instructor and you're showing your qualifications for getting students, you don't need to tell people how much training you receive. Now, of course, if you're on the stand in court and you're sworn in and you're asked a question about your training, you need to be truthful about it, and you should be. There's nothing wrong with it. You need to discuss this with your attorney, and the whole reason that I receive training as much as I can is that I don't want to use my gun. I want to know if there are alternate solutions to a situation. I want to know if there's another way out of the situation. The whole point in taking training is you want to learn about de-escalation. You want to learn about removing yourself from the situation if it's possible. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes you're in a situation, there's no way out. You have to use your gun to defend your own life or the life of the people near you, your family, your loved ones. Sometimes you don't have a choice, and it happens. But a lot of times there is a way to de-escalate. There is a different way of thinking about different situations. And taking training classes, at least for me, it gives me the opportunity to hear about from different instructors that have different backgrounds and different experiences, to hear from students in the class that have different experiences and backgrounds. And I might say in a particular classroom, hey, I would have handled that a little differently had I not heard his or her explanation about what happened and what transpired. I might have handled that differently. So now I have in my head, maybe there is a different way. If that particular circumstance happens to me, maybe there is another way for me to handle it. Maybe not. But it just gives you options. That's why I like to take as much training as I can. I like to hone my skills. If I do have to use my gun, I want to be accurate. I want to be on target. Also, running through different scenarios in your head, running through different scenarios in class. Hey, if this set of events happens, how should we handle this? What should we do? What should be your first course of action? In this particular circumstance, if you use your gun, would you be justified? So this is why we take training classes, and this is what your attorney needs to fight back with if a prosecutor decides to attack you on training. Now keep watching to the end, folks, because I am going to talk about in-person training. Again, I think you should get as much as you can. I know it's not always easy. It's expensive. It costs money. It's time away from your family, time away from work. You just have to have that right balance of how much training to get. But I stress training as much as possible. Now, as far as gun choice for everyday carry, I have been asked by many people about doing a video on selecting an everyday carry, which I am working on. So I'm not going to get into a lot of details with this video, but to me, an everyday carry, it's a defensive weapon, remember. It's for self-defense. So some people have said, well, what if I, have that big gun, that 44 Magnum, 10-inch barrel Smith & Wesson, can I carry it? If it's legal to carry and you're legally allowed to carry it, then yes, you absolutely can carry it. However, just imagine you're in that situation where you have to use your gun, you use it, the prosecution decides they're going to charge you, now you're going to court, your gun is going to be there, it's evidence, prosecution's going to show your gun to the jury. That's going to happen if you go to trial. So just imagine they hold up that big Smith & Wesson Model 29 or whatever, 44 Magnum 10-inch barrel revolver and say, this is what the shooter was carrying. And maybe they also hold up a Ruger 380 pocket gun. And they say, this is what he could have carried, but this is what he was carrying. Now, your lawyer hopefully will object and will say the right things like, it's a legal gun and my client was legally allowed to carry it. But again, we're talking about the picture here that the prosecution is going to try to paint to the jury. I'm not telling you don't carry it. If it's legal to carry and you're legally allowed to carry it, then by all means you can do that. I'm just saying, think about the aftermath and what it may look like or what it could look like. Now, I know some people will say, I can't worry about that. I'm not going to worry about that. And if you have a larger frame body, then you might want to carry a larger gun. You may be able to conceal that easier than a smaller gun, or it might feel better to hold in your hand than a smaller gun. It's going to be up to each individual. There are a lot of choices out there to carry for guns for self-defense. Depending on your background and your experience, it's going to be different. So if you're a police officer or former police officer, if you're active duty police and you're carrying off duty, you may want to carry a different gun than someone who's not a police officer carrying off duty. Now, as far as in-person training, we partnered with two great companies to offer in-person training in New Jersey. The first company, Strategic Safety and Security Group, and the second company is Crosshair Tactics. These companies, I'll put links in the description. There's also a link on the screen as well. Click on the link to contact Nate for in-person training. He'll get right back to you. And these are great companies, former law enforcement and or military. So the experience, it's years of experience, and the training, anything from CPR and AED training, security assessments for your home, for your business, for schools, concealed carrier, as it's known in New Jersey, permit to carry training for qualification, and also basic pistol qualification and training in New Jersey. Personal self-defense with a firearm inside your home, outside your home. Many more training classes available that I can talk about in this video, but if you're interested at all, please click on the link and reach out to Nate for in-person training. And if you like this video, folks, please hit the like button and share it. Also consider subscribing if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you know when we release new videos. Thanks for watching, take care, and stay safe.